All right, it's showtime. So this one is going to go under biblical archaeology. If you go to my playlist, I already have two videos on the actual site of Sodom and Gomorrah, but we're going to be looking at the real Noah's Ark that is found. I'm convinced with the evidence, and I want to share it with you guys and let you guys come up with your own opinion on the subject. Either way, it's super interesting and compelling. I'm going to show just a few images. I'm not going to go into right away why the flood occurred, but as you know, if you've seen my previous videos, it's centered around Genesis 6, where the sons of God descend onto the daughters of man and they have children. These children are human angel hybrids known as the Nephilim, and they were giants as well. And they corrupted all flesh, they corrupted humans, they corrupted being abominations, they were corrupt themselves. They played around with genetics, and that is why the seed of the woman, meaning the future Messiah, was in danger of no longer having human DNA. So at that point in history, things had to be wiped out. Noah was perfect in his genealogy, and that's why him, along with seven other people, were chosen to repopulate the earth. So we can get into that later on. Right now, I want to focus on the archaeological aspect, and we can have some fun with Nephilim and giants and things like that after, if we have time. So Genesis 8:4. And the ark rested in the seventh month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. Often we'll say the mountain of Ararat, but it's not necessarily that mountain itself, but the mountains surrounding as well, Ararat. Here's a sign. You see a lot of these places, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, these are all Islamic states. Many of them don't even allow tourists or anything like that. So we actually do have the real Mount Sinai archaeologically. We have the rock that Moses struck where water came gushing out to feed the millions of Jews that were wandering. The graffiti or the imagery on the rocks that are painted or that are carved in also help validate that area. So geographically, it's a wonderful area for the true Mount Sinai. But we're going to check over here Noah's Ark. So this is the petrified wood here. We see a very strange rock formation that forms the appropriate measurements for Noah's Ark that was in the Bible. Here's another angle. This is by the Wyatt Museum, Ron Wyatt. He is one of the people that pushed excavation or analysis of this, in my opinion, the most. Of course, they tried to destroy his reputation. And this site, again, is largely ignored by mainstream. The government confirms this is Noah's Ark. This was done on June 20th, 1987. The Turkish government established the new Noah's Ark National Park following confirmation by the government commission of the investigative work on the site by the American Ronald E. Wyatt. Looking here on the left, this is courtesy of ArkDiscovery.com. The western and seaboard side of the Ark boasts the most defined rib timbers, four of which are clearly visible above here in the picture. What would you expect a 4,500-year-old boat hulk to look like? a boat that has been buried in a volcanic mud flow for the last 2,000 years. I don't know about you, but this is pretty much what I would expect. Again, from arcdiscovery.com, the port or eastern side of the ark near the front was scraped off by Ron in an effort to view the timbers without loose crumbling material in the way. This process revealed the lighter color rib timbers in a systematic vertical pattern. You can see a darker curved pattern across the top, which represents the remnants of a large keelson. Petrified wood deck timber. Note that there are no rings found in any of the timber samples. This is as we would expect in a pre-flood world where there are no seasons due to the protective water canopy surrounding the earth. So just more images here of these formations here that they're saying are not man-made. Gives you some perspective. Okay, here it says the subsurface radar scans show a regular pattern of timber inside the arc formation, revealing keels, keelson, gunnels, bulkheads, animal chambers, ramp system, door in right front, 2 large barrels in the front, and an open area for airflow to all 3 levels. So it'd be something along the lines of this. They had these large stones. This is like, a remake of how they could have been, but this helps with the boat's stabilities. And around the area where the ark is found further away, we have these drag stones or drogue stones. Basically, this is used for the ship to stabilize it. There's 12 drogue stones like this one were discovered uphill by Ron Wyatt in 1977. So some had 8 crosses and other depictions of 8 people who were on the ark. There's a lot of Christian crosses and stuff like that put in the area, which makes me believe that early Christians were quite aware of this site. And after the Islamic control of these areas, no longer able to do visits to areas, things can get forgotten very quickly. Here's just some examples of where the ropes would have been holding these heavy stones. This is just I got this from Earth Discovery, the real Noah's Ark found by archaeologists. So you can see that the testing here shows the hull of a boat. Just some more rocks with 8 crosses, drogue stones. This is believed to be Noah's house ruins, an altar that Noah made as well here. This village here is known as the village of the 8. So even the names of surrounding locations show a remnant of some historical truth. Just some more of the scans. So you can see that, they're able to find whether this is wood that they're finding underneath in these patterns or metal. I don't remember which one's which. When it slid down the mountain, it kind of got stuck here on this rock. That's what stopped it from continuing to slide down. So the real Noah's Ark, the top points to consider, it is in the shape of a boat, which with a pointed bow and rounded stern. It's the exact length as noted in biblical descriptions of 515 feet or 300 Egyptian cubits. It rests on a mountain in eastern Turkey, matching the biblical account. The ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. Ararat being the name of the ancient country of Urartu, which covers this region. contains petrified wood as proven by lab analysis, contains high-tech metal alloy fittings as proven by separate lab analysis paid for by Ron Wyatt, then performed later by Kevin Fisher. Aluminum metal and titanium metal was found in the fittings, which are man-made metals. Vertical rib timbers on its sides comprising the skeletal superstructure of the boat. Regular patterns of horizontal and vertical deck support beams are also seen on the deck of the Ark. Occupied ancient villages at the Ark site at 6,500 feet elevation, matching Josephus Flavius Josephus' statement. It remains are shown there by the inhabitants to this day. Dr. Bill Shea, archaeologist, found an ancient pottery shard within 20 yards of the Ark, which has a carving on it that depicts a bird, a fish, and a man with a hammer wearing a headdress that has the name Noah on it. In ancient times, these items were created by the locals in the village to sell to visitors of the Ark. The Ark was a tourist attraction in ancient times and today. Recognizing the Turkish government as Noah's Ark National Park and a national treasure, officials notice of its discovery appeared in the largest Turkish newspaper in 1987. Recognized by Turkish government as Noah's Ark's National Park. The visitor center built by the government to accommodate tourists further confirms the importance of the site. Huge anchor stones were found near the Ark and in the village Kazan, 15 miles away, which hung off the rear of the Ark to steady its ride. And the Ark rests upon Senekidad Mountain, which is translated as Doomsday Mountain. This doctor stated, "It is a man-made structure, and for sure it's Noah's Ark. Common sense." This same article also states the site is immediately below the mountain of Al-Jidi, named in the Quran as the resting place of the Ark. Radar scans show a regular pattern of timber inside the Ark formation, revealing keels, like I said, gunnels, bulkheads, animal chambers, ramp systems, down door to the right, two large barrels in the front, and upon the center area for airflow to all three levels. All right, let's get out of here. Hey, Jules. Yeah, just doing biblical archaeology, giving a possible site. Salut Yann, ça va bien? Je t'ai pas oublié, c'est juste, c'est comme dernière minute que je décide de faire une vidéo. Good to see you, Jason. Good to see you, Rod and Kai. All right, thanks a lot. All right, let's check out. We'll do 2 videos. What I'll do is I'll let it play for a while. I'm going to have to say some kind of blah, blah, blah. So it's fair use. And so I have like 2 different videos. So if we keep on skipping back and forth, I may be able to, get some of this documentary that's already done and show you guys. Let's get started with Ron Wyatt.
Magazine story, 500 feet. Most people were looking for a 437-foot Noah's Ark based on the Hebrew cubit, but Ron again went to the Bible to learn more. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. Moses was the author of the Genesis account of the flood. He would have known the cubit of the Egyptians. The Hebrew cubit didn't come into existence.
Yeah, so a cubit size is usually the tip of the finger to the elbow, and different cultures had different official lengths. I think at one point it was like whatever the king's measurement is, that's a cubit. But there was the Egyptian cubit. Moses was raised in Egyptian culture, so he most likely would be describing this using the Egyptian cubit, which makes the ark larger than what was previously um, guessed or estimated.
until there was a Hebrew nation after Moses' death. The Encyclopedia Britannica stated, "The Egyptian cubit is generally recognized as having been the most ubiquitous or universal standard of linear measurement in the very ancient world. The royal cubit equals 20.62 inches. This would mean Noah's Ark was much longer than 437 feet." 17 years after the Life magazine article, Ron finally made the journey to Turkey. When he saw the boat-shaped object, he saw that it looked just like it did in 1960, and he knew he would need permission to excavate in order to learn anything about what was beneath the surface. So he returned home and enlisted a number of friends to help him pray for an earthquake to reveal more. In late 1978, he learned of an earthquake in eastern Turkey and returned in August of 1979. When he arrived, he was overwhelmed by what he saw. The earthquake had dropped the soil around the object, and a large crack extended the entire length.
Over
He
here.
could see what looked to him like the remains of decayed rib timbers along the now exposed.
Yeah, so you could see that these are very, very symmetrical. Highly doubt that nature would create, um, these consecutive vertical formations.
Sides. Also, he was able to measure the depth of the debris and measure the length. It was 515 feet, or exactly 300 Royal Egyptian cubits. He was now convinced. He carefully combed the surface, looking for evidence that it was a shipwreck. He saw what he believed were petrified structures of an ancient ship whose deck had collapsed. He saw what looked like deck joists and deck support timbers. In 1984, Ron met and became friends with Colonel Jim Irwin, the former astronaut. Colonel Irwin was searching for Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat, but he was very gracious and was interested in seeing the boat-shaped site. Ron had brought a metal detector to the site to see if there was a pattern of metal readings. In the presence of Colonel Irwin and others on his team, Ron
Like I found that, like, for Christians, just archaeologically, Sodom and Gomorrah, like it's insane that it's literally calcium sulfate ash with 99% pure balls of sulfur. Okay, you can just walk there. It's not even protected. It's insane that God kept it preserved for so long. Like he said, this is an example of the end times. You know what? It's still there as an example. We also have here the flood. The flood was an example of the judgment to come. Again, this is preserved. When we had the Shroud of Turin as the burial cloth and resurrection image of Christ on it, science, they did poor science. They did a carbon dating. Supposed to be 7 different labs that didn't know what they were testing. It ended up being 3 labs that knew what they were testing. They cut it from a repaired medieval repair. It's just ridiculous. And then again, it's like, oh, it's a hoax. Yeah, but how'd you get the image there? We don't know. Is it 3-dimensional? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem. There's real blood too. Yeah. Of a traumatized victim because of, the components in the blood. Yeah, but it's a hoax. Oh, okay. Same thing here. Same thing for Mount Sinai. Same thing for the golden calf altar. Same thing for the crossing of the Red Sea. 2 pillars mounted by King Solomon. No one knows. No one visits, and obviously these are all God's will in areas where you can't visit. Mostly, all Islamic states.
employed the detectors. He found distinct metal lines down the entire length of the object, while no metal readings were obtained just outside of it. Ron asked Colonel Irwin, who had impressive scientific community connections, if he could have the strange specimen tested. Colonel Irwin sent the specimen to Los Alamos National Labs, where geophysicist John Baumgartner performed the analysis. The results of that analysis captured Dr. Baumgartner's interest. The specimen contained manganese, also titanium and aluminum, among others, and these were not in the form found in nature. Due to the sophistication of the metals, he questioned whether a missile had crashed on the mountainside and Ron had found the remains. The exciting evidences of the metal lines and the analysis of the specimens brought two new researchers into the work, Dr. Baumgardner and David Fassel, the marine salvage expert who knew all about ships and their construction. They both joined the team.
Oh, look at that. Oh, well, wait a minute. Wait, let me get a close up of that. Kind of,
You want my hand in there?
yeah, just to point at those little flakes of iron that are coming out, like right there. There and there. Huh.
So there's definitely man-made metals in here. It's funny how like the fallen angels in the first book of Enoch were the ones that taught man metallurgy.
That's a strong name. Well,
I'd say that those frames right there.
okay. Keep walking. Do you want a measuring tape to measure these things, how far apart they are?
And you'll look at like mainstream and stuff like that. I guess the biggest objection is from the geologists. Yeah, you got this guy, you know, and he has this detector, and he's like beep, 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 and they start mapping out the ground. So just like every other institute right now that is vomiting out deceptions and narratives that are controlled, same thing here. It's like, hey, you know, this is like could be the greatest archaeological find. No, it's just an anomalous rock formation. Okay, this guy has pretty convincing evidence. Oh, don't worry, we're going to smear his character. And
John, as a scientist, might I take the liberty here to ask you, do you really honestly believe that you have been on the remains of Noah's Ark?
I have no doubt in my mind. This has to be a man-made structure. It's full of metal. Metal has a regular pattern to it, and the size of the thing and the shape of the thing is such that it's almost certainly a large boat.
Dr. Baumgardner and Ron scanned the entire site with 3 different types of metal detectors. Placing rocks at each metal reading, they then attached tapes to show the lines. While Turkish scientists and archaeologists did their own research, Ron and his associates continued their work. The next step was subsurface interface radar.
There's the longitudinal bulkhead. You ought to see them popping out, man.
Yeah, there they are.
Here. There's
Yeah.
another one. There's the key line right there.
Yeah.
well, that we have like actual footage of him doing his own research.
Oh, Ron, the lines are there. The lines are there.
Okay, we're gonna walk over.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Leave it run so everybody knows that we're not cheating here, right?
You got it. Toby.
Okay. Now, this is the west bulkhead. Okay, can you look through there? And
All right.
this is the west bulkhead.
All right.
That was over there. And he walked easterly. Here we start getting a longitudinal bulkhead. Here.
Okay.
You see there how it shows up?
Right.
The initial scans were very impressive, showing internal structure consistent with bulkheads and rooms. But to be sure they were interpreting the data correctly, Ron took the scan printouts to Geophysical Survey Systems, the developer and manufacturer of the radar.
This data does not represent natural geology. It's a man-made structure. These reflections are occurring very periodic, too periodic to be random natural type interface.
There was no longer
All right, let's just switch to over here. This is holylandsite.com. You can check this out. Let's just take advantage a little bit and watch this site here.
In the mountains of Ararat, as the Bible says. Genesis 8:4 says, then in the 7th month, On the 17th day of the month, the ark rested on the mountains of Ararat. Notice that the ark came to rest in the mountains of Ararat. It doesn't say it came to rest on the mountain of Ararat, as some claim. This means it came to rest in the region of Ararat. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica,
Yeah, so I guess this is the official Mount Ararat. This is actually the location that we're finding the Ark formation.
the name Ararat, as it appears in the Bible, is the Hebrew equivalent of Uartu or Uartu, the Assyro-Babylonian name of a kingdom that flourished between the Aras and the Upper Tigris rivers from the 9th to the 7th century BC. Now, the Bible also confirms that Ararat was a kingdom at one time. Jeremiah 51:27 says, "Set up a standard on the earth, blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations for war against her. Summon against her the kingdoms, Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a marshal against her. Bring up horses like bristling locusts." So we see that Ararat was a region, and it's upon this region and this area that the ark came to rest. Now let's look at the evidence within this boat-shaped object. It fits the general dimensions of 300 cubits long by 50 cubits wide by 30 cubits high. Its length is exactly 30 royal cubits, which is 515 feet long or 157 meters. Its width is larger than 50 royal cubits, which is 86 feet or 26.21 meters. The ruins today measure 138 feet or 42 meters wide. So what we see today is that the width of the ark is wider than what the biblical
Is it-
account says.
Because they topple onto the side.
However, this is explained by taking into consideration that the ark's walls probably fell outside as they decomposed and the ark settled down. So this extra width has been explained by understanding that the sides of the ark fell outward
That's fair enough. It makes sense.
as it decayed, or also that the 50 cubits were an average width of the ark, not its width at its widest point. 3 distinct layers or decks have been discovered from different geophysical scans, ground penetrating radars, and electrical resistivity images.
Yeah, like Bruce is saying, working on my stream. See you later. Thanks for showing up, Bruce. Bruce makes a comment. Yeah, Jason, deliberately to hide it, probably. Yeah, for sure, 100%. But it's weird because when you're in these Islamic sites, they acknowledge like, oh yeah, that's the mountain of God over here. This is Moses's area, and it's all like when you start reading the Bible, and when it says a certain place is in a certain place, when you do the research, that place is in exactly the certain place that the Bible kind of mentioned and stuff like that. The idea that the Mount Sinai mountain, right? That it's in on the continent of Africa, when it's very clear that they crossed the Red Sea, and that it is from there that he went to the mountain. And we find all the locations. Once we actually cross the Red Sea the way it says, Mount Sinai is supposed to be close to Moab, I believe. And everything, archaeologically and geographically may make perfect sense. When you actually read the Bible and use it as a roadmap, it says that they were here and they went there. Well, just follow with your finger and you'll get to the right location.
Taken over the years. These scans reveal these layers only within the ship-shaped object and not outside of it. Now, an earthquake occurred in 1978 that lowered the sides outside the ark considerably. Images taken before and afterward clearly reveal a change to the sides of the proposed ark shape. Many believe the sides now reveal several vertical rib timbers used in the ark's construction. Ron Wyatt dug a 6-inch round shaft tunnel into the side of the ark-shaped formation and claimed to have found petrified animal dung, a deer antler, cat hair, human hair, and other fibers. Metal detector tests taken numerous times over.
We'll have to do another Noah's Ark one. Is that you, Noah? Okay, I was just checking. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna have to do another one where
Over the year.
they do the calculation. Like, was the boat big enough to house all of these animals? Trey Smith actually did a very good video, God in a Nutshell documentary, Noah's Ark or the flood. And yeah, so I definitely want to do another video to show that the Ark did have the capacity to house the various kinds of animal.
All reveal a very distinct organized pattern of
Obviously, I also believe in the literal flood. Personally, I think that the geographical columns and things like that support a global flood more than billions and billions of years of sediment lining up on top of
metal beneath the surface, which is consistent with the shape of a large ship. Also, 4 intact metal rods have been discovered by the Turkish government, each measuring about 4 feet or 1.2 meters in length. In June of 1991, an interesting object was discovered, which seems to be a large rivet with a washer around it. It was believed to fasten the large timbers of the ark together. An analysis of the rivet object showed it was made of various metals such as titanium, aluminum, iron,
All right,
and other.
so second source talking about aluminum and various metal alloy. I wanted to show you here, for example. So they'll look at strata and they'll say, well, you know, this is over millions of years, billions of years, etc. The thing is that you can find fossilized or petrified wood trees that go through many millions, I don't know, of layers, and you have it going through all of this. Now, the only reason that I could see is that this was mud laid down all at once, and you had spinning around logs that got trapped inside the mud from the flood or from a flood, depending on the height of the supposed age of the strata. But you can see here that this is most likely mud, and it hardened, and this allowed these kind of geological anomalies. Just wanted to point that out. Yeah, there is that ark that they rebuilt for tourists and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Other metals. Interestingly, just centimeters away from this rivet-shaped object, the soil reveals no minerals of iron or metal whatsoever. Now, the Encyclopedia Britannica tells us that because of its chemical activity, aluminum never occurs in the metallic form in nature. It should be noted that the Bible affirms the knowledge and use of iron in Genesis 4:22 before the flood occurred. It says, as for Zillah, she gave birth to Tubal-Cain, the forger, listen carefully, of all implements of bronze and iron. So before the flood, they had use of iron. They were very skilled in all kinds of iron. So it shouldn't surprise us that within this ark-shaped object, we can find all this metal and iron deposits that are there. It should also be noted that metal is not found outside of this boat-shaped object. Just within the object is where the metal is detected. During a radar scan done by Ron Wyatt in the presence of the local Turkish government, something unique seemed to appear. The Turkish government ordered a soldier to dig up the ground, and a petrified piece of wood was uncovered. It was later tested and revealed it was indeed organic in nature and appeared to be 4 layers of wood laminated together. This is believed by some to be part of a deck timber. Even more surprising were laboratory analyses, which not only revealed that the petrified wood contained carbon, proving it was once wood, but there were iron nails embedded in the wood. The Turkish government also claims they have found additional petrified wood on the site as well.
Yeah, when you look at his claim, because he found Mount Sinai, the same one that Joel Richardson and stuff like that has been visited, like 99.7% sure that that's the real Mount Sinai for various reasons, and we're going to do one on that one specifically. He also, Ron Wyatt, says that he found the Ark of the Covenant. When you go and visit in Jerusalem, there's Golgotha, the place of the skull. This top of that hill or that rock formation is based on the Gospels, where Jesus was crucified. During the what was I going to say? Oh yeah, during the rebellion and war from 66 AD to 73 AD, the Romans leveled Jerusalem as well as the temple. They went off with a lot of the stuff that was inside the temple, like the menorah, pure gold and stuff like that. When the city was surrounded, the Ark of the Covenant was unable to get out of that area. So it was hidden somewhere. Now, Ron Wyatt claims to have seen the area that is below Golgotha. He says that the blood and the water that came out of the side of Christ seeped down and touched the mercy seat. So as above, so below. Look, we don't have the evidence now, but there is one interesting thing. At the location where it is supposedly was excavated, it's been completely sealed off. People come with these special gold detectors, so it looks like two antennas and stuff like that. When they walk over an area, it starts spinning, saying that there's a significant amount of gold in that area. And as they walk away, the gold antennas turn around, implying there's gold that way. And they just keep on doing this to get the circumference. There's definitely a significant amount of gold close to Golgotha. And, Ron Wyatt started saying an angel talked to him, stuff like that. It's the least credible of all of his claims, but it's worth investigation into it, because with this, there's multiple people that have used this apparatus to show that right where the tourists are walking, right below, possibly the Ark of the Covenant is there. I think he was a Seventh-day Adventist, if I'm not mistaken. So that further discredits, in a way, all of his work because he's a Seventh-day Adventist. But who cares, if he's Seventh-day Adventist or not? He went searching for the Ark, and he found evidence of it. Evidence, again, that is being acknowledged to a certain extent, but largely we don't see any of this. We're going to see the next article on the ketogenic diet, how it's going to kill you, before they give any large platform for these kind of findings that validate the Bible.
Well, as mentioned, John Larson carried out electrical resistivity tomography in 2014, which provides 3D images that are quite convincing that under the surface of the boat-shaped object are what appear to be different decks and structures of a ship. Researcher Andrew Jones, along with Applied Geophysics Department of Istanbul University, believe that the results of the scans indicate a man-made artifact beneath the surface that could well be the Ark, and are eager to continue studying the location. The team believes that the new GPR data shows parallel lines and angular structures 8 to 20 feet down, and that these parallel lines and right angles below the surface are something you would not expect to find in a natural geological formation. The formation identified in the scans, according to the team, matches the dimensions of the Genesis description of Noah's Ark. Plans are also underway to carry out orthophoto photography, called LIDAR imaging, and related mapping studies using aerial drones in the region designated as Noah's Ark.
All right, that's pretty cool. Let's skip back here to Ron Wyatt.
Any doubt that this was the remains of something man-made. In late 1986, the Turks announced their decision. The ceremony was set for June 1987. During that ceremony, the governor asked Ron to demonstrate the radar on site for the journalists and military officials. When Ron showed them a readout that he said looked like an intact timber, the governor then instructed a soldier to dig right there. What emerged was this petrified section of fossilized hand-wrought timber. Sectioning showed it to be laminated wood, 5 layers of timber glued together with pitch, clearly visible oozing from the end.
It was tested at Galbraith Labs for organic carbon. The level of organic carbon was extremely high, thus proving this object was once living matter, consistent with wood. Using radar equipment, Ron Wyatt discovered an open cavity on the starboard side of the Ark. Utilizing a core drilling technique, he was able to gain access to the interior of the Ark. Stunning evidence was pulled from the belly of the ship. Using an improvised long rake device, petrified animal dung was extracted from the hull. Next, cat hair was also pulled from the cavity. Then, a petrified antler was extracted. These are all items that one would expect to find in the bottom of the Ark. The Bible tells us the antediluvians were skilled in metalworking. Tubal Cain, an instructor of every craftsman in bronze and iron.
So, I mean, do your own research, look at the evidence. Is it valid? It's definitely interesting and compelling, and it's definitely something that Christians should know about. Again, just like the Shroud of Turin should be investigated seriously. You might not need all of these things to have faith in the Bible. But there are people that are not believers. And if these things are truly there, Mount Sinai, the rock that Moses struck, the golden altar, the altar in front of the mountain that Moses built, the tomb of Joseph, the dynasty of King David on inscriptions, these things need to be known by Christians to a larger extent, so that they can have a reason to defend their faith. We're supposed to preach the gospel and leave it as it is, but having these things to be brought up to non-believers can allow non-believers to kind of be like set back a little and going, wow, they might not admit it to you. Hopefully some that are curious will look into it, and it could be the first steps towards Christ and the Bible.
This large metal rivet, or metal washer around a metal rod, was found by Ron Wyatt when he had taken a tour group to the site in 1991. The center rod had been struck while it was hot, causing it to flare out, holding the washer in place. Test results showed that it contained 8% aluminum metal. Aluminum metal is man-made, thus proving the site to be man-made. Skeptics have said Mr. Wyatt was lying about the testing, but was he really? When the Ark Discovery International team was at the Ark site,
Yeah, Stephen is convinced that it's all true, and they've pretty much found all. Like, this is huge, right? This is like, we put all the animals on the boat, and there was only 8 people. It's like, look, it's a story. First of all, it's a story that a lot of cultures that were never in communication with each other have these stories, these mythologies that we consider now. So this goes to this story, or versions that are very close to the biblical story, throughout all cultures. We look at China. One of their letters represents a boat with 8 people in it. I can show that while this is playing. I can try and find that for you.
Used a metal detector to locate metal fittings on the Ark. This is a crescent-shaped piece of metal that had been a circular washer in its better days and was found near the bow on the port side. A portion of it tested at Galbraith Labs in Tennessee, and the results were stunning. It was 8% aluminum metal, just as Ron Wyatt's test had revealed. The test additionally showed a small amount of titanium metal that is also man-made. The Ark Discovery team continued its analysis at the site and located another fitting on the starboard side. A portion of it was sent to Galbraith Lab for testing, and again, there were incredible results. It contained 8% aluminum metal, 1.3% titanium metal, plus 3.8% magnesium metal, all indicative of the Ark formation being a man-made structure.
All right, here we go. Here's Noah's Ark embedded in the Chinese language. So this is a large ship with 8 people on a boat. So it says one of the most stunning and impressive evidences that Noah's Ark is real biblical history is coded in the Chinese language. For example, the Chinese word for large ship is a compound of three other words: 8, person, and boat. Print the Chinese symbols for these 4 words and ask them to tell you what each one translates into English. This is a universal truth. Take the Chinese writing down to your favorite Chinese restaurant and ask the staff what the word means in English. See for yourself. It is unbelievable. This is so powerful that many Chinese speaking people have become Christians. Start here. Chinese evidence. I don't have to do this. You can go look at more articles. Institute of Biblical Archaeology, finding evidence of Noah's Ark in a single Chinese word. There you have it again. Many consider it a myth among those who do not. Numerous expeditions have been sent out to the mountains of Turkey to look for it, yet direct physical evidence of Noah's Ark remains elusive. Maybe watch my video. There have been several claims of potential discovery at several different sites, but they remain highly controversial. Perhaps that's unsurprising for any wooden object from around 4,500 years ago, but the mountains of Turkey aren't the only place where evidence of Noah's colossal ark can be sought. Indeed, it can be found in the tiniest objects, such as a single Chinese word. The character-based Chinese language goes back as far as 1250 BC, as recorded with bones and bronze artifacts. The squarish Chinese characters can become quite complex, made up of several radicals, single individual words with individual meaning. So anyways, 8 plus a person plus a boat equals a ship. One such example is the Chinese word for ship or large boat, which when it has that signifies 8 people plus a boat. So that's very relevant as well, in my opinion. Let me go back here to screen share. Hey, I'm not on the video. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Share screen in. Share entire screen. So moving away to biblical archaeology a bit, now that you've seen the site, the real Ark of the Covenant, I am convinced about it. We see in Genesis, it says, and I'll put enmity between you and the woman and between your seed and her seed. So he shall bruise your head and you shall bruise his heel. So according to this verse, there will be enmity, hatred, war between the individual woman and the serpent who deceived her. The word enmity indicates a blood feud. So we see that right from the start, the seed of the woman, must defeat the seed of the serpent. When we're talking about seed, we're talking about sperm. and we know that the woman's seed is something very rare to say that, but Mary had a miracle birth, and we see that the seed has to do with genetics. And if Satan's able to corrupt the genetics of humans, it is a possible way of making sure Messiah, who has to come from the pure seed of Eve, a prototypical human, perfect DNA, it makes sense that Satan would try and go that route to prevent. He's like, I'm going to, use rebellion, angelic rebellion, to come down to create a race of angel human hybrids that would corrupt the genetics, not only the mixing between angels and humans, but we'll also see that there is a mixing of animals as well, showing kind of the technology that we currently have. Well, they were able to do that through angel technology back in the day. And Jesus warns, as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. And we see an increase in genetic manipulation, hardcore. So the sons of God and the Nephilim, this is going back to Genesis 6, when the human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them. The sons of God, the angels, saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim, giants, were on the earth in those days and then afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. And these were the heroes of old, the men of renown. Then the Lord saw the wickedness, and he started over. If we go over here at the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like angels in heaven. He specifies that these are angels in heaven. However, when angels descend, they come in human flesh. That's the tent they put on when they come from the spiritual world. If you look at the first book of Enoch, estimated to be around 200, 300 BC when it was written, one of the pseudo-apocryphas, a intertestamental literature, fragments found in the Dead Sea Scroll. This was not canonized except for the Ethiopian Bible, but it was literature that shows the mentality, shows the understanding of who the Nephilim were, about this angel rebellion that is really just briefly mentioned in Genesis 6, but we have a deeper understanding. And there's nothing wrong with reading literature that the Jews as well as early Christians would have been aware of. Here in the book of Enoch, it just kind of says over Genesis 6 here, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters, and the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said one to another, come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And on it goes. They swear an oath. There's the names of the leaders. They said that, so they began to go in onto them and defiled themselves with them. And they taught them charms, enchantments, cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant. They bore great giants whose height were 3,000 eels, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Here is very odd. They began to sin. How do you sin against birds, beasts, and reptiles and fish? And to devour one another's flesh and drink blood. When you sin against birds, beasts, and reptiles, in my opinion, this means the genetic manipulation of cross-species breeding. Then the earth laid acquisition against the lawless one. I'm going to skip here. It says here, then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One spoke, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech and said to him, go to Noah and tell him, in my name hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and the deluge is about to come upon the earth and will destroy all that is on it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all the generations of the world. Again, it's all about genetics. Here we have the first book of Enoch, and it is quoted in Jude 14 and 15. So, behold, he cometh with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all, and to destroy all ungodliness, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness, which they have ungodly committed. So here you hear Jude say, Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones, exactly quoted here, to judge everyone and to convict them of all the ungodly acts they have committed in their ungodliness, and of all the defiant words ungodly sinners have spoke against him. Finishes perfectly. If you go to another pseudo-apocrypha, the ancient book of Yasher, the ancient book of Yasher continues to say that they were mixing species. They taught humans how to mix species that should not be mixed. We're currently doing that again. Jesus warns and says, as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. So among the wickedness, there is as well, again, the minute that humans start playing with genetics, the minute that you have human and animal genetics being manipulated together with animals and animals, species that usually cannot form offspring, we have that technology. It's another sign pointing to the troubles ahead. So it says, meet Lily, the amazing spider goat. Lily doesn't climb walls or wear a mask, and she wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider. Her spider DNA is no accident. She was born with it. She is part of a herd of around 40 transgenic Saanen goats with a spider silk gene in their genome. Because of that gene, they create a protein that makes up spider dragline silk as part of their milk. The protein can be extracted in a lab, then used to make anything from strong, flexible, bulletproof vests to a better way to transport life-saving vaccines. Yes, that sounds exciting. Spider goat messenger RNA vaccines. Get your spider goat messenger RNA vaccine. She may not know she's a super goat, but that doesn't stop her from saving lives. Here we have the book of Yasher, chapter 14, verse 18. This is where it adds a little bit extra that people might not know in relation to, we start with Genesis 6, get what we can get in that, and then after we can go to the book of Enoch that kind of, adds a lot more detail to it. And Yasher can supplement as well, going one step further and explaining what they meant by they sinned against animals, bird, fish, and things like that. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force. Yeah, this was like rape. From the husbands according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixturing of animals, of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. It was deliberate. Yeah, you know what? Look at this DNA. Look at your creatures that you made and said were good. Well, look what we're going to do. We're going to provoke you by mixing things that should not be mixed together. in order thereof to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon earth, all man and all animals. Here's fancy stuff where they're trying to grow limbs on the backs of rodents. So a lot of the research of mixing animal and human DNA is in a way to be able to develop organs that will be able to be harvested by humans. Again, all in the name of saving lives, but there's definitely has to be a mixture of human and animal DNA to do that. Nephilim, it's a race of giants said to have dwelt in the pre-Israelite Canaan. It relates that to the sons of God, a divine or angelic beings that took mortal wives. It was then and later too that the Nephilim appeared on earth when the divine beings cohabited with the daughters of men who bore them offspring. They were the heroes, the Gibborim of old, the men of renown. This could mean that the Nephilim were contemporaneous, but not identical with the offspring of divine beings and earthly women who were called Gibborim. The above translation, however, follows an ancient tradition of equating the Nephilim and the Gibborim as offspring of the union of angels and mortals. We see here the way Jude talks about the angels leaving their first position or their first estate or authority and being judged by everlasting chains, waiting judgment day. And it explains in a similar way what did these angels do? If you're uncomfortable thinking that angels can sleep with humans, well, it says in a similar way, Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding towns gave themselves up to sexual immorality and perversion. They serve as an example of those who suffer the punishment of eternal hell. And if you look at the first archaeological videos I've done on Sodom, you'll see that, yes, indeed, they are a perfect example of the judgment to come. But if you read the first verse here, it says, Jude 1:6-7, and the angels who did not keep their first position of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he's kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. And it reinforces what did they do? They did in a similar way that what Sodom and Gomorrah did, sexual immorality and perversion. So it's very clear. Because some people want to talk about the line of Seth. So that would be the godly line having children with the ungodly line, and that forming somehow abominations that required the flood. It doesn't make sense. Why do humans make giants? It's for this reason that a woman ought to have authority over her head because of the angels. This is why women are encouraged to dress moderately, because even the angels can lust after them. Imagine nowadays. So 2 Peter 2:4, for if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until judgment. We have these angel-human offsprings, these hybrids all throughout the Bible. We have it in Samuel. Then a champion came out from the armies of the Philistine named Goliath from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Then Ishbi-Benob, who was among the descendants of the giants, the weight of whose spear was 300 shekels of bronze in weight, was girded with a new sword, and he intended to kill David. There was war in Gath again, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each finger, 24 in number, and he had been born to the giants. Giant clans in the Bible, they were known as the Raphaim, the Emim, the Anakim, Horim, Avim, Zanzumim. These were the tribes God commanded the Israelites to ruthlessly slaughter and completely destroy. For example, the Emim are a large and numerous people as tall as the Anakim. They had formerly inhabited Moab. Like the Anakim, they are usually reckoned as Raphaim. So it's like their names are a bit interchangeable. You could be having, several names, or just call them Canaanites because they live in the area of Canaan. Though the Moabites call them Emim. We have Og of Bashan, right? So he was the only king of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Raphaim. These are Nephilim. Behold, his bedstand was an iron bedstand. It is in Rahab of the sons of Ammon, and its length was 9 cubits, and its width was 4 cubits. But the men that went up with them, these slaves, to go see the area that God promised them. God is saying, go into that area. I will give you victory. But spies came back with an opinion that scared everybody. So he says, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land, which they had searched upon unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sights. So we have CRISPR technology now that can easily, create, what they're planning are super soldiers. If they can mix, there's pigs that are mixed with rodents, and they create these insanely muscular pigs. CRISPR-Cas technology, we can snip and slice and do whatever we want with human DNA. China, I'm sure, has a lot less scruples about following ethics. From bioweapons to super soldiers, how the UK is joining the genomic technology arms race. All right, here's other cultures with giants. We can see in Lovelock, Nevada, the Sedekai. These were red-haired giants, I believe, with double rows of teeth and 6 fingers and 6 toes as well. We see the casting of a regular jawbone of humans compared to the one that they found in the cave. Looking at all these weird genetic manipulations that we see in folklore and mythology, not saying, that these are actual pictures of, but they do represent something. They do represent, like the Book of Yasher, the mixing of animal species as well. Here's some sizes from 6 feet up to 36 feet of, so-called finds of skeletons. You see a lot of articles prior to evolution being pushed hardcore, and the Smithsonian conspiracy that they have taken all of these large giant bones and pretty much either destroyed them or took them out of public viewing or acknowledgement by the academic community. But before they got their hands on it, there was plenty. We have odd-shaped skulls. Again, these are like archaeologists that are being ignored, or anthropologists that are being, or just, researchers that are being ignored. And these odd-shaped skulls with non-human parietal plates and stuff like that do exist. It's odd that many Egyptians have these skulls that look like this. That are very odd. We see that cultures are trying to imitate this as a way of emulating a higher order of beings, in my opinion. We see these weird squiggly guys in Egyptian art as well. Either these guys are really small or these ones are really big, but we definitely got some weird skulls going on here. So history is pretty strange. I think that there's good evidence here. This is Gilgamesh. He's a giant as well. Again, look at the sizes of the people. Some as tall as giraffes. There's also an important thing to acknowledge is that there's much more water inside the earth as there are in all the oceans. So we know during the flood that the fountains of the deep broke open. Okay, and this happened in mega sequences, and this helped with these mega sequences and tsunamis, etc., to create these large unified global stratas that were laid down by water in a relatively quick amount of time, instead of this idea that these are slow layers that built up over millions to billions of years on Earth and stuff like that. So we can see that this is just another kind of additional information to put in the back of your mind, that the conclusions that scientists are reaching after 2014 discovery planted the seed of the idea. But first, let's get a refresher on the layers of the Earth. The part of the planet we deal with the most of the time is the crust, and the uppermost layer that's about 30 miles thick at its biggest. Beneath that is the mantle, which is itself made up of 3 sublayers: the upper mantle, transitional, and lower mantle. Together, they're about 1,800 miles thick, and they make up 84% of the planet's volume. Down beneath the mantle is the core, but it's in the mantle that you'll find our secret 6th ocean. And we look here at flood traditions as well. Through many generations, we see that they overlap, which is good historical evidence. How do we have all of these various empires and cultures not in contact with each other, having similar stories, right down to Chinese letters being 8 people in a boat. So there may be a second massive ocean beneath the surface. Things to think of. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the deep, of the great deep, burst forth. I believe these are the ridges, the faults that we see here. This was all subterranean water that escaped rapidly through all of these remnant cracks that you see. Just showing you. Brian Forster has some good research that you can check into about the elongated skulls in Peru. Weird parietal plates that are not there in humans. Weird skulls, guys. All right, so I believe that the fallen angels shared the knowledge with the population. They played gods in the ancient world. The similarities between cultural myths show a grain of truth. The Nephilim angel-human hybrids were the builders. It explains the ancient technology found around the world. However, the knowledge leads to corruption of mankind. We're looking at these massive megaliths. I have to stop it here, guys. Because my granddaughter's crying. This is just some satanic stuff from the Vatican. I have this on the slide. Look at the side of the hair. It's a perfect snake. We have Baphomet right here. This looks like a fly. The 2 eyes on the fly. Pretty crazy stuff. And we have giants, in all sorts of various mythologies. This is a skull. Look at how it would compare. All right, guys, I'm going to finish it here. this one will be in the section of archaeology. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one. See you soon.